Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Chelsea. Thank you, all of you, for being here. I mean, amazing, amazing work, and so struck to be in the midst of such creativity. So, thank you. This piece is an excerpt, actually, from the longer essay that is in this issue of Little Patuxent Review. And the title is Aspic to Oysters. I found the 1961 photograph in my desk drawer behind the clutter of loose index cards and paper clips. How did it get there? I had recently flipped through a family photo album, a trove of yellowed snapshots chronicling our childhood celebrations and special events. I remembered lifting this particular photo out from behind the page's tattered plastic covering to study it more closely. In the black and white photo, I am about 10. The scene is my Aunt Mimi's kitchen, the occasion our extended family's Christmas dinner. At the kitchen's entrance, my stocky body fills most of the doorframe. My cousins and siblings stand in line behind me, poking their heads around, anxious for the buffet action to begin. In front of me sits a table heaped with scalloped potatoes, petite peas, tomato aspic, and something in the middle that must be turkey or maybe stuffing. Aunt Mimi was renowned for both. My plaid shirt dress has wide white yoking and puffed sleeves that pinch my fleshy arms. Tight black curls frame my round face. My left hand grasps a dinner plate. My right hand is balled tight in a fist. Tentatively, an uncertain half smile on my face, I look vacantly to the left, not exactly at Aunt Mimi, nor at my mother, who waits in the foreground, partially obscured from the camera. Model gorgeous and a perfect size 8, she holds her plate on which small portions of each dinner item are carefully arranged in a circle. Behind me, my 12-year-old brother, trim and dapper in suit and tie, pushes forward, enthusiastically, aggressively even, extending his arm around me to grab a dinner plate. The world is his oyster. All he's looking at is the food. As a young girl, I was a chubette, the term used during the 1950s to advertise dresses for overweight girls like me. I wasn't always overweight as a child. From photos I've seen, I began gaining weight around the time I started first grade at Catholic school associated with our parish. Although I loved learning, I was a nervous student, worried about an imperfect homework assignment or a forgotten spelling homework. The nuns were demanding, and such misdemeanors could mean being sent to the back of the room. Their approach only exacerbated an uneasiness I often felt at home, where my Irish Catholic father's strict approach to child rearing often kept me on edge. By third grade, piping hot Bisquick biscuits slathered with butter became my go-to comfort food. My brothers and sisters, to their credit, didn't make fun of me, although I can't imagine that there wasn't the occasional wisecrack, quickly squelched, no doubt, by one or both parents. School was a different story. In third grade, our teacher, Sister Joseph of Nazareth, asked us to clean out our large wooden desks, which in 1959 meant kneeling on the floor and organizing the book compartment under the seat. When I took a little longer than my classmates to get my books in order, I heard her voice calling from the front of the room, "Who's that little tugboat down there?" I turned red and hot. My classmates stared, maybe one or two snickered, which later devolved into the occasional, "Hey, tugboat," in the schoolyard. My mother explored all sorts of options in her crusade to save me from going through life at such a disadvantage. One diet in particular stood out for its somewhat draconian approach. I was advised by our family doctor to count calories during the week, but if by Friday I hadn't lost 2 pounds, I couldn't eat or drink anything but fruit and water for the entire weekend. I tried, I really did, but stomach growls wore down my resolve. Inevitably, I would sneak a handful of Utz potato chips or Oreos in between apples and oranges. My hunger was assuaged, but not the gnawing feeling that I had once again let my mother down. Next, the doctor recommended diet pills. I have learned since that I was probably taking some form of amphetamines, a common drug for obesity in the 60s. For a child who already suffered from anxiety and insecurity, this was a dose of disaster. I had trouble sleeping, occasional nosebleeds, and more often than not felt like a speeding roller coaster as it crested the top of a precipice. While my extra pounds discouraged me from participating in anything remotely related to sports, I embraced dancing wholeheartedly. When my Girl Scout leaders decided that we would perform a Spanish dance for a regional Scout talent show, complete with costumes and castanets, I was elated. At the end of one of the many practices, the dance teacher, with whom I had never had an extended conversation, asked me to wait for a few minutes after class. Secretly, I hoped she was going to compliment me on my dancing. "Patty," she started, "you're so popular." Flattered and probably a bit confused, I mumbled thanks and began heading for the exit. She said, "But wait, if I can give you one piece of advice." Her words of wisdom were something like this: "You should lose weight. You have such a pretty face. Being overweight will keep you from all sorts of things, sports, dances, all of it." Did my weight keep me from doing all sorts of things? Certainly some. But more than that, it was the reaction to my weight from people I loved and admired that utterly deflated me. My mother's determination to solve my weight problem, the nun's tugboat comment, the snide remarks from classmates, the dance instructor's unsolicited advice, and countless other large and small displays of displeasure, sometimes pity, the disappointed looks, the eyeing up and down. I wonder, of all the photos I looked at in that album weeks before, why did this one prompt me to look more closely? In truth, I identified with that little girl. After years of growth and self-awareness, countless hours of therapy, and jobs that demanded high levels of responsibility and expertise, I knew somehow that her hesitancy, her tentative demeanor, her checking in for approval from someone, anyone in that kitchen, is still part of me. What a contrast to my normal-sized brother, the oldest boy in our Irish Catholic family, who needed no validation from anyone. I'm not surprised that the photo of my younger self ended up in the hodgepodge of my desk drawer. I imagine I tossed it among the junk from some desire to keep her close, but not so close that I'd see her every day. While my heart ached for her, she also painfully reminded me of the self-doubt that has plagued me for years. If she is my past, I am her future. Months have passed since I retrieved that photo from the back of my desk drawer. My 10-year-old self now sits on a table in our dining room, properly framed and prominently displayed. Each time I pass her, I pause to recognize her, really see her, both in the photo and in myself. No longer ashamed about that part of myself, but embracing it, embracing her, and telling her she's perfectly okay, just the way she is. If I can do that for her, I might be able to do it for myself.